Your roadmap to the latest in auto. Welcome to Highway Herald. Here we track not just vehicles, but the global highways of power and trade shaping our world. While attention locked on Ukraine, Gaza, and Taiwan, Russia quietly reshaped the Arctic into a fortress of strategy and influence. Nuclear icebreakers, militarized ports, radar webs, and mineral wealth turned ice into leverage. Add China's Polar Silk Road and NATO's hesitation, and the Arctic is no afterthought. It's today's frontline. From frozen frontier to Arctic stronghold. Russia's Arctic strategy has been decades in the making, but the past 5 years pushed it into high gear. While the world fixated on Ukraine and the Middle East, Moscow quietly cemented dominance across the northern sea route. In 2025, the Kremlin declared the final phase of Arctic transformation, a signal that Russia had accomplished what Western powers had barely started. The scale is immense. Russia operates over 50 icebreakers, including the only nuclear-powered heavyweights like the Project 22220 class. Ports from Murmansk to Pevek have evolved into militarized hubs, connected by a 24,000-kilometer defensive wall of radar systems, underwater sensors, and air defense networks. Economically, the Arctic is vital. It already contributes 7.5% of GDP and 11% of exports, with projected tax revenue of $160 billion by 2035. Shipping traffic surged to nearly 38 million metric tons in 2024, with forecasts of 50% more foreign voyages in 2025. While others viewed climate change as a threat, Russia turned thawing seas into a weaponized advantage. And with those foundations laid, the stage was set for Russia to control the very routes that connect east and west. NSR, the shortcut that redraws the map. The Northern Sea Route is emerging as the world's ultimate detour, cutting up to 40% off sailing distances between Europe and Asia compared to the Suez Canal. A journey that once took 35 days can now be completed in about 20, a major advantage for industries where fuel costs and delivery speed make or break profits. Yet this shortcut is far from open access. Moscow controls every detail. Foreign ships must secure permits, ice-class certifications, and often rely on Russian nuclear icebreaker escorts. The costs are high, but the payoff is faster delivery, while Russian operators are guaranteed the best treatment. Traffic has already surged from 4 million tons in 2014 to nearly 38 million in 2024, with more expansion planned under Rosatom's Northern Transit Corridor project, which includes new hubs, containerized shipping, and a growing nuclear fleet. Still, harsh sailing conditions, high insurance premiums, and Western sanctions limit participation. For Russia, the NSR is more than trade. It's a tool of leverage, a commercial lifeline in peace, and a coercive weapon in conflict. Before we delve deeper, don't forget to subscribe to Highway Herald. Your support fuels our passion to bring you more in-depth automotive and geopolitical insights. And while Russia built the hardware, it was China that supplied the capital and vision to keep this Arctic machine running. China's Polar Silk Road, the other engine in the Arctic machine. Russia may supply the geography, but China brings the capital and the strategy. What started as Beijing branding itself a near-Arctic state is now materializing into a concrete reality. Under its Polar Silk Road initiative, China is investing in Arctic ports, undersea fiber optics, and even research bases, all with dual commercial and strategic functions. Shipping giant COSCO has tested transits, and while sanctions pause the flow, Beijing's long-term intent is clear: embed itself so deeply in Arctic trade that the NSR cannot function without Chinese fingerprints. For Russia, this partnership fills a crucial gap. Western firms pulled out after sanctions, and Chinese state-backed companies stepped in. From financing ice-class vessels to underwriting LNG projects, Beijing ensures Russia doesn't stand alone in the cold. This alliance is no accident. For Moscow, it's survival and expansion. For Beijing, it's insurance, an alternative to choke points like the Suez or Malacca Strait. Together, they've engineered a polar axis that reshapes global logistics while NATO still debates policy papers. But while Russia and China built their Arctic axis, the West was still playing catch-up. NATO's cold wake-up call. For decades, Western leaders treated the Arctic as a peripheral zone, useful for climate studies, occasional summits, or brief military drills, but not a vital trade corridor. That complacency carried heavy costs. While NATO cycled troops through short-term exercises in Norway and Canada, Russia steadily constructed permanent bases, expanded ports, and tightened regulatory control. By the time NATO recognized the scale of Moscow's actions in 2024, Russia's Arctic blueprint was already firmly established. The consequences were not just military but economic. European ports feared polar leakage, as Arctic shipping threatened to redirect traffic away from Suez and Singapore. Insurance companies began recalculating risks, acknowledging what governments had ignored. The Arctic was already a functioning commercial and strategic arena. Yet NATO remains divided. Canada, Norway, Denmark, and the US each have Arctic stakes, but no unified strategy. Europe's focus on migration and America's pivot to the Indo-Pacific leave exploitable gaps. Ironically, NATO trains for every battlefield but overlooked the one where Russia quietly surged ahead. And nowhere is that more evident than in the Arctic's resource race, a chessboard where every move counts. The high-stakes Arctic chessboard. Beneath the Arctic's frozen surface lies a staggering resource vault, an estimated 90 billion barrels of oil and 670 trillion cubic feet of natural gas, nearly a quarter of the world's undiscovered reserves. Add to that deposits of nickel, rare earth minerals, and vast liquefied natural gas supplies, and the Arctic emerges as a treasure trove of strategic and economic power. Russia's approach is straightforward: control the flow, control the influence. Every vessel using the Northern Sea route is funneled through Russian systems, paying port fees, hiring nuclear icebreaker escorts, or relying on state-run carriers. These revenues fuel Moscow's economy and military, but the leverage stretches far beyond money. Russia can accelerate shipments for allies like China and India while smothering adversaries in bureaucracy, or even choke gas flows to Europe during energy crises. Adding to this is a shadow fleet of reflagged, lightly regulated tankers carrying sanctioned oil and LNG under Russian protection. Its quiet power, subtle bottlenecks, and control points expanded further as melting ice unlocks new opportunities. Closing thoughts. The ice has shifted. The Arctic shift was no accident. It was a deliberate strategy. Russia built fleets, ports, and pipelines while the West stalled in debates. China stepped in to fund the gaps, embedding itself so deeply that no Arctic future can exist without its influence. Together, they turned melting seas into tools of leverage and power. Meanwhile, NATO hesitated, training troops but failing to build infrastructure or a lasting presence. Now the map is already redrawn, with Moscow and Beijing holding the keys to the world's newest trade artery. The verdict is clear. The ice has shifted, and so has the balance of global power. Can NATO adapt quickly enough, or will the Arctic remain under Russian-Chinese dominance? If you found this video insightful, be sure to subscribe to Highway Herald for the latest vehicle updates and in-depth analyses. Your support helps us bring you the best in automotive content. Please leave a comment below to start a conversation. Thanks for watching and see you next time. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's more exciting and informative content waiting for you.